Robert is 72. He came to see me last year because he was scared. His annual blood work showed something that had never been flagged before. His GFR, the main measure of kidney function, had dropped from 72 to 58 in just 18 months. That's the kind of drop that makes a doctor sit up and pay attention. Robert had already done everything he was supposed to do. He'd cut salt. He'd stopped eating processed food. He was drinking his water. And still, his kidneys were losing ground. I told him something that surprised him. Robert, what you eat during the day is fine. I want you to add one specific food, but I want you to eat it before bed. He looked at me like I had three heads. Before bed? I thought eating before bed was bad for you. 6 months later, his GFR was 65, a 7-point improvement. His sleep was better. His blood pressure was better. And all he'd done was add this one food at the right time of day. I'm Dr. David. Today I'm going to tell you exactly what that food is, why the timing matters more than the food itself, and the science, the real published science, that explains why this works for aging kidneys. Stick with me because the studies I'm about to share might change how you think about your bedtime routine entirely. Why your kidneys work differently at night. Before I give you the food, and I promise I will, you need to understand why when you eat matters for your kidneys. Because this is the part almost nobody talks about. Your kidneys don't work the same way at 10 p.m. as they do at 10 a.m. They follow a circadian rhythm, a 24-hour biological clock that's hardwired into your cells. During the day, your kidneys are in what I'll call active filtration mode. They're processing everything you eat and drink. They're managing your blood pressure as you move around. They're working at full speed. At night, and this is the part that matters, your kidneys shift into repair mode. The filtration rate naturally slows down. Blood flow to the kidneys changes, and your body begins a series of repair processes that only happen during sleep. Here's the problem after 60. That repair window gets narrower every year. Your natural melatonin production drops, sometimes by more than half compared to what you made in your 30s. And melatonin isn't just a sleep hormone. It is one of your body's most powerful antioxidants, and your kidneys depend on it for protection against oxidative damage, the kind of cellular wear and tear that builds up over decades. A 2023 review published in the journal Cells. This was a comprehensive analysis of multiple clinical trials led by researchers at the Polish Academy of Sciences, found that melatonin plays a direct protective role in kidney tissue. It reduces inflammatory markers, it fights oxidative stress, and in patients with early-stage kidney decline, it was associated with measurable improvements in function. Over 40 studies contributed to this review. So the question becomes, what if you could support your natural melatonin levels, not with a supplement, but with food, at the exact time of day your kidneys enter repair mode? The acid load problem nobody talks about. Now let me give you the second piece of the puzzle, because it's just as important as the timing, and it has to do with something called dietary acid load. Everything you eat leaves behind either an acid or an alkaline residue once your body metabolizes it. Animal proteins, meat, cheese, eggs, produce acid. Your kidneys have to neutralize that acid by generating bicarbonate. When you're young, your kidneys handle this easily. After 60, that system gets tired. Think of it like a filter that's been running for 6 decades. It still works, but every extra load of acid forces it to work harder and recover more slowly. And if you're eating animal protein at dinner and then snacking on cheese or lunch meat before bed, your kidneys are processing acid when they should be repairing. Plant proteins are fundamentally different. Beans, nuts, seeds, they produce far less acid residue. Some of them actively help buffer the acid from other foods in your diet. This isn't a small effect. A 2020 study published in the Journal of Renal Nutrition, over 2,000 patients with mild to moderate kidney decline, found that people who got more of their protein from plant sources had a measurably slower rate of kidney function decline than those who relied predominantly on animal protein. We're talking about a difference that shows up on lab tests. A more recent 2025 analysis published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition examined dietary patterns and kidney disease risk across a large population cohort. The finding: Replacing just one serving of animal protein per day with plant protein was associated with a significantly reduced incidence of chronic kidney disease. One serving, one swap, not a diet overhaul. Now here's where this gets interesting, and this is the key to this entire video. What if you could combine these two things at bedtime? A food that gives you natural melatonin to widen that repair window, and plant-based protein that doesn't burden your kidneys with acid? That food exists. The sleep-kidney connection. It's stronger than you think. Before I name it, I want to show you the third piece of research, because this closes the loop on why before-bed nutrition matters so much. A 2024 study published in the journal Nutrients examined the relationship between sleep patterns and kidney function in over 3,000 adults over the age of 60. The findings were striking. Participants who reported poor sleep quality, waking up multiple times per night, getting less than 6 hours of total sleep, had a significantly faster rate of eGFR decline over the 5-year follow-up period. The difference was roughly 1.5 milliliters per minute per year faster decline compared to good sleepers. Over 5 years, that adds up to a meaningful gap in kidney function, and that's just from poor sleep. The mechanism is straightforward. During deep sleep, your body releases growth hormone, which drives tissue repair throughout your entire body, including your kidneys. Poor sleep means less growth hormone release. Less growth hormone means less repair. Less repair means faster decline. This is why I emphasize the before-bed timing so strongly. It is not a gimmick. It is not clickbait. It is the window when your body is most receptive to repair. And if you feed it the right materials at the right time, you maximize that repair capacity. So now you have three pieces: the circadian repair window, the acid load problem, and the sleep quality connection. All three point to the same solution, the same food. The food, walnuts, and the melatonin science. The food is walnuts. I know, it doesn't sound dramatic, it's not exotic, it's not expensive. But let me show you why the science behind walnuts makes them, in my clinical judgment, the single best food a person over 60 can eat before bed for kidney protection. First, the melatonin. Walnuts are one of the only foods that naturally contain melatonin in a biologically meaningful quantity. We're not talking about a trace amount that only shows up in a lab. Researchers at the University of Texas Health Science Center confirmed this directly. Walnuts contain a measurable, absorbable form of melatonin. When you eat walnuts, your blood melatonin levels rise. A 2024 randomized controlled trial, published in the journal Nutrients, 40 grams of walnuts daily, that's about a small handful, measurably improved sleep quality, better sleep onset, longer total sleep duration, less daytime sleepiness. This was a controlled trial, not an observational study. These people ate walnuts. Their sleep got better. The control group didn't. Theirs didn't. Why does this matter for your kidneys? Because every minute of quality sleep is a minute your kidneys spend in repair mode. The melatonin from the walnuts helps you reach deep sleep faster and stay there longer. And we already know from the 2023 Cells Review, over 40 analyzed studies, that melatonin directly protects kidney tissue from oxidative damage. That's mechanism number one, natural melatonin for better sleep, which means a longer, more effective kidney repair window. Mechanism two, plant protein and the acid load advantage. Second, the protein itself. Walnuts are a plant protein. With all the advantages we just discussed, lower acid residue, gentler on aging kidneys, less filtration burden, but walnuts specifically have something that sets them apart from many other nuts. Their amino acid profile is particularly favorable. They are lower in sulfur-containing amino acids, the ones that produce the most acid, and higher in arginine, an amino acid that supports healthy blood flow. The Journal of Renal Nutrition study I mentioned, over 2,000 patients followed over several years, specifically analyzed protein source. Patients who shifted even a portion of their daily animal protein to plant protein showed roughly a 25% lower risk of progressive kidney function decline during follow-up. And eating walnuts before bed means that during the entire night, when your kidneys are in repair mode, not active filtration mode, they are processing a gentle, low-acid plant protein rather than a heavy animal protein. You're giving them the night off from acid management. Consider this. If you eat a typical American dinner, a piece of chicken, maybe some cheese on your salad, and then go to bed, your kidneys spend the first several hours of the night neutralizing that acid load. They're not repairing, they're working. Swap in a handful of walnuts before bed instead, and you're providing a protein source that actually takes the pressure off. Mechanism 3, omega-3 ALA and inflammation control. Third, and this is especially relevant if you have any degree of inflammation, which most adults over 60 do, walnuts are among the richest plant sources of alpha-linolenic acid, or ALA. That's the plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. Your kidneys are extraordinarily sensitive to inflammation. In fact, chronic low-grade inflammation is now recognized as one of the primary drivers of age-related kidney decline. And ALA has been shown, consistently across multiple studies, to reduce systemic inflammatory markers. A 2025 meta-analysis published in the journal Prostaglandins, Leukotrienes, and Essential Fatty Acids, I know that's a name that requires a deep breath, analyzed omega-3 intake and renal function across multiple clinical trials. The conclusion: omega-3 fatty acids, including ALA from plant sources, were associated with reduced albuminuria. That's protein leaking into the urine, one of the earliest detectable signs of kidney stress. The researchers also measured C-reactive protein, one of your body's main inflammatory markers. Patients with higher omega-3 intake had consistently lower CRP levels. Less systemic inflammation means less inflammatory stress on the delicate filtration units inside your kidneys, the glomeruli. So now you have 3 mechanisms working together, all from one food eaten before bed. Melatonin opening the repair window, plant-based protein reducing the acid burden, and ALA omega-3s dialing down inflammation. That is not a superfood. That is smart nutrition, applied at the right time, backed by published science. Mechanism 4, magnesium, blood pressure, and the calming effect. There's a 4th piece I haven't mentioned yet, and it ties directly into why so many seniors struggle with both sleep and kidney health simultaneously: magnesium. Walnuts are a good source of magnesium, about 45 milligrams per serving. Now that's not a megadose, but it's meaningful, especially considering that roughly half of adults over 60 don't get enough magnesium from their diet. Why does magnesium matter for this conversation? 2 reasons, and both connect to kidney health. First, magnesium helps regulate your body's stress response. It calms the sympathetic nervous system, your fight-or-flight wiring, which makes it easier to fall asleep and stay asleep. Some researchers call it nature's relaxation mineral. And as we established with the Nutrients 2024 study, better sleep directly translates to slower kidney decline. Second, and this is the part most people don't know, magnesium plays a direct role in blood pressure regulation. High blood pressure is the second leading cause of kidney damage, right behind diabetes. Magnesium helps blood vessel walls relax. A 2022 meta-analysis of randomized controlled trials found that magnesium supplementation was associated with a small but significant reduction in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure, roughly 2 to 3 points on average. 2 to 3 points doesn't sound like much, but over a decade, that small reduction in pressure means your kidneys are being squeezed a little less hard with every heartbeat. That cumulative protection matters. So now you have 4 mechanisms: melatonin for repair, plant protein for reduced acid, omega-3s for inflammation, and magnesium for blood pressure and sleep. 4 pathways, 1 food, before bed. How to do this exactly? Let me make this practical, because I'm not going to tell you to eat something without telling you precisely how. 40 grams. That's the amount used in the randomized controlled trial, and conveniently, it works out to roughly 1 small handful. Not a heaping handful, not a bowl. A modest handful, about 8 to 10 walnut halves. When? Roughly 30 to 45 minutes before you turn out the light. Enough time for digestion to begin, not so early that it becomes part of dinner. If you normally go to bed at 10 p.m., have your walnuts around 9:15. Raw, unsalted walnuts, not the candied kind coated in sugar. not the ones roasted in oil with salt. Plain, raw walnut halves. You can eat them straight. You can add them to a small bowl of plain yogurt if that makes it more enjoyable. You can soak them in water for a few hours before eating. That softens them, and some people find soaked walnuts easier to digest. A few walnuts with a glass of water. That's it. That's the routine. Now, who needs to be careful? Two groups. Walnuts are high in potassium. If you have stage 4 or 5 chronic kidney disease and your nephrologist has specifically told you to limit potassium, talk to them before adding walnuts. This video does not replace your doctor's individualized advice. Second, walnuts are calorie dense. 40 grams is roughly 260 calories. If you're actively managing your weight, account for these calories by reducing something else in your day, ideally something less nutrient dense. Don't add walnuts on top of your existing intake. Swap them in. What not to eat before bed. The hard truth. Now I want to tell you what Robert, the patient I described at the beginning, was doing wrong before he started the walnuts. Because this part is just as important as what to add. He was having a bedtime snack of cheese and crackers. Harmless, right? Wrong on multiple counts. Cheese is animal protein, acid-producing, inflammatory at high intake, and loaded with sodium. Crackers are refined carbohydrates, almost always packed with hidden salt. Together, they were a concentrated hit of acid and sodium that landed on his kidneys right as those kidneys should have been downshifting into repair mode. If you're eating anything right before bed, and many people do, I want you to think honestly about what it's doing to your kidneys during the night. A bowl of ice cream? Sugar spike, inflammatory response, zero nutritional support for repair. A slice of deli turkey? Sodium bomb, phosphate preservatives, acid-heavy animal protein. Even a glass of warm milk, animal protein, acid-producing. None of these are wrong foods. They're just wrong at bedtime, because they ask your kidneys to work when your kidneys should be resting and repairing. The swap is almost too simple. Whatever your bedtime snack is now, replace it with a small handful of raw walnuts. You're not going hungry. You're not depriving yourself. You're adding something that actively helps rather than challenges. And you're doing it at the time of day when the help matters most. Robert came back 6 months after starting his walnut routine. His GFR had improved from 58 to 65. Not a miracle, not a cure, but 7 points in the right direction, alongside better sleep and lower blood pressure. He told me, "I didn't think one small change could make this much difference." That's what I want you to take away. Your kidneys don't need a miracle. They need consistency. They need the right inputs at the right time. And they need you to stop doing the things that make their job harder, especially at night. A handful of walnuts 30 minutes before bed, starting tonight. If this helped you, tell me in the comments. Have you ever thought about when you eat affecting your kidneys, not just what you eat? I read every comment.